This speech is called Being Biracial by Susanne Lynn. Being biracial is something to be very proud of and to never lose sight of. The purpose of my speech is that by the end of it, the audience will understand the pros and cons of being biracial. Being biracial can be both beneficial and challenging. I will start by explaining who I am and what I represent. Then I will shift towards what it was like for me growing up, being biracial. While doing so, I will inform the audience about the good and bad things that come along with my ethnicity. Lastly, I will stress the fact that not only people of biracial ethnicity, but people of all color deserve to be respected and accepted. I am biracial, and that's exactly what I represent. Biracial is a term used to describe an individual who is mixed with two different races. For my case, I am mixed with black and white. Blacks and whites have been at battle, in a sense, and this battle has lasted for centuries on end. I was born in 2000, which is the generation that came right after segregation and slavery. I grew up knowing that my great-great-grandma was born into segregation and that her mother was born into slavery, and so on down the line. My dad is black and my mom is white. I'm proud to say that they have been married for 22 years and have been together for 30. I can't imagine how hard it was for them to be together peacefully. The stories that they have told me are dissatisfying and traumatizing. It was extremely hard for them to be together because of my mother's family. I attended a majority white school. It had about 75 black people and only 3 biracial people, which were my siblings and I. It was difficult growing up, being one of the only few people who were different. It was hard because half of who I am completely destroyed the other half of me. They were at constant battle with each other. Luckily, my parents always made it clear to me that being biracial was in fact different, but different in the best way possible. They always told me that it was like having the best of both worlds. From that point on, I went to school strong and proud, demanding respect from just about everyone. Then one day, there he was, the first person I had ever experienced racism from. Me and my brother got on the bus that day, minding our own business. When he comes along, the next thing I heard was this white boy who wore camouflage and boots, shouting a racial slur at my brother. The next thing I did was get in his face and demand that he repeat himself, but the next time he needs to say it a little bit louder so that I can hear him. He repeated himself, and he said, "nigger." And that's the part where I reacted with violence. I hit him straight in the mouth. I was suspended off the bus for 3 days. But it was well worth it. Another incident had occurred shortly after, but this time, I wasn't violent. This time, I didn't speak at all. I was using the restroom, and I was about to walk out of the stall when I overheard these 2 white girls in my grade having a conversation. They were discussing black and white people and their opinions towards interracial couples and segregation. They literally said that they couldn't understand how a white person could be with a black person. They also couldn't comprehend how these 2 races could even create a baby. They believed that whites should only date within their race. They finished up their conversation by throwing out racial slurs, like it didn't mean anything. They said things such as mutts and Oreos to describe people of mixed race. I couldn't believe what I had heard. So I stayed in the bathroom stall, and I didn't leave until they walked out. I was so angry because I felt as if I was on the verge of acceptance up until that point. Now that I'm 19 and it's 2020, I want to stress the fact that not only people who are biracial, but everyone of all color deserve respect and acceptance. As I grew up, I started to embrace the fact that I was biracial by getting biracial created on a shirt and wearing it to school. Some people couldn't even understand the word. They mispronounced it and they called it Biracial. They didn't even know what it meant. So that's why I'm writing this speech today, so that I can inform people of what it's like to be biracial. Being biracial is once again something to be so proud of and to never lose sight of. The purpose of my speech was that by the end of it, hopefully the audience will understand the pros and the cons of being biracial. Being biracial can be both beneficial and challenging. I started by explaining who I was and what I represent as a person. Then I shifted towards what it was like for me growing up being biracial. While doing that, I informed the audience about the good and the bad things that come along with my ethnicity. Lastly, I stressed the fact that not only biracial people, but people of all color, of all ethnicity, of all shades of the rainbow, deserve respect and they deserve to be accepted. I am biracial, and that's what I represent.